Welcome to Happily Ever After is just the beginning. Keeping your relationship not just together, but happy, and we mean truly happy, is part art and part science. You've come to the right place. Here's your host, Leslie Dories.
Narcissism. It's a word that is thrown around a lot these days. But what does it actually mean? And how does it differ from someone who is just self-centered or maybe just clueless? And when it is real, how does it impact personal relationships? Well, I'm so glad you asked, because narcissistic abuse coach, speaker, and the author of Wrecking Ball Relationships, How to Identify, Live With, or Leave the Narcissist in Your Life, love that title, is here to help clarify what narcissism is and how you can deal with it. And so Lynn Catalano is going to talk to us about that today. So Lynn, thanks so much for coming on and talking about, what is a timely topic.
Well, thank you. Thank you for having me, Leslie. I know it sounds strange, but I do love to talk about this because I do think that it helps people who are suffering from this type of abuse.
Yes, and it definitely is. It's definitely not fun. So can you please define what narcissism is and also what it isn't?
Yes, absolutely. And I've written a lot about this. I completely agree with you. I think that it's a term in our vernacular that people don't use properly. They bandy it around like a derogatory term if you take too many photographs of yourself, that kind of thing.
Right.
And it's certainly not that. When I wrote my book, I consulted a lot of different sources, including the Diagnostic and Statistical Manual of Mental Disorders, the DSM, and the American Psychiatric Association. And I'm going to use their definition right now, American Psychiatric Association. So they stated that it begins in early adulthood and is seen in people with at least 5 of the following characteristics. So, number 1, an exaggerated sense of self-importance. They expect to be recognized as superior without matching achievements. Number 2, a preoccupation with fantasies of unlimited success, power, brilliance, beauty, or ideal love. Number 3, they believe he or she is special and should only associate with other special, high-status people or institutions. Number 4, they require excessive admiration. Number 5, they have a strong sense of entitlement. 6, they selfishly take advantage of others to achieve their own ends. 7, they lack empathy or genuine concern for others. 8, they're often envious or believe others are envious of them. And 9, they show arrogant, haughty, patronizing, or contemptuous behavior. So that's a lot.
Sounds like somebody I want to rub elbows with.
Right? I mean, and I want you to know that I truly believe, and I know that science is now supporting this, that narcissism is really viewed on a spectrum similar to how autism is viewed. So that when you look at someone, they could have a few narcissistic tendencies. I know for me, the narcissist in my life is always 10 out of 10. Whatever the characteristics are, he meets all of them. Not everyone is as unlucky. So,
well, because that's, it's interesting because, and we know that the term narcissist has shown up. I mean, it's been around for a long time, but it's taken quite a center stage over the last several years. And, because some of the behaviors described, I would say that almost all of us, with the possible exception of the Pope and the Dalai Lama, really would like to have life go our way. And if we can get it set up so life goes our way, we're happy. But I think that there are some characteristics that are specific to narcissism that makes it just different than, I don't know, run-of-the-mill self-centeredness, I guess is what I'm asking. I mean, is there a difference?
Yeah. Well, yes, absolutely. I mean, sure, we all like special treatment, and we all like to be, have good things happen to us, absolutely. But that's not narcissism. And, one of the biggest benchmarks of narcissism is the lack of ability to exhibit any kind of empathy. Mm-hmm. And I think that, just because we want a good table in a restaurant or good seats in the theater, that doesn't make us a narcissist, but our inability to express any kind of empathy, to walk a mile in someone else's shoes, is perhaps the easiest indicator to really determine who that person is.
Mm-hmm. And so how would you recognize somebody that lacks empathy?
Well, for me, it was pretty easy. I can tell you a short story. For me, I lost my mother quite suddenly. She passed away at 66, and she had congestive heart failure that we did not know about. It was not diagnosed. Mm-hmm. And within the year, she passed away, I was in my 30s. And within the year, I have a husband and, at the time, 2 small children. Within the year, my doctor diagnosed me with an irregular heartbeat, and I had a rapid heartbeat. Mm-hmm. And he, gave me an EKG and told me I needed to see a cardiologist. Well, obviously, I was quite frightened and certainly beyond scared, since I had just lost my mother this way.
Right.
And my narcissist is my father. Mm. And so here in my own kitchen is my father. And I was thankful that my husband was there to witness this, because it's the kind of thing that when it happens, you think, did that really just happen? Like, you question yourself. Like,
whoa, did I just imagine that? It's like, am I putting more weight on that? It's like, wait, yeah.
What was that? So I said to him in a very concerned voice, as one would, Dad, I'm really scared. Here, obviously he knew what had just happened to my mother.
Right.
And I told him that I had just had this EKG, and my doctor was really worried and was sending me to a cardiologist, and I'm really frightened, and I'm nervous, and I'm scared. And he said, I know, my back has been killing me.
Yeah, I can understand why that would be kind of like a, what?
Like, I've been looking for hidden cameras for quite a while, because, I mean, why else would I be subject to this type of thing? Like, surely someone is watching and laughing somewhere, right? Like,
right.
This is crazy. So I didn't realize it at the time. Trust me, it took me years to figure it out. But that, combined with a lot of other indicators, led me to the conclusion that he suffers from narcissistic personality disorder. But that lack of empathy, like, he just can't. I mean, at one point, here my kids were little, and certainly a grandparent, we would think, would take great joy in their only 2 grandchildren. Mm-hmm. And he once said to me, like, what do you expect me to talk to her about? And, like, at the time, I think one of my daughters was, like 5. Well, what do you talk to a 5-year-old about? Whatever's happening in her life, Like, what do you mean?
Sit down and have a tea party with her.
Yeah. Like, what do you mean? So, yes, the inability to exhibit empathy looks a little bit like that. So
that's one way that narcissism shows up in relationships. What are some other ways that they show up, that a narcissism shows up?
So one of the I actually have 10 red flags. I don't know if I'll have time for all 10, but I like to help people learn to identify the narcissist in their life, certainly. And one of those red flags is that they need to have control. They need to control the situation, the people, all of it. They need to be in control, and if they're not, they're going to undermine and belittle and demean and discount whoever is in control until they capitulate, or they're just going to throw a tantrum, and that could take place as a rage storm in lots of forms. Narcissists don't like to be challenged because it interrupts their control. So don't question them.
Oh, and not to mention their sense of specialness and superiority.
Yes. Right. So that goes without question, right? Their excessive need to be recognized and envied, as well as they feel they're always the smartest person in the room. But the control thing, if you don't want a reaction, you need to stay on their script. I found that any time that I got a reaction from my narcissist, it was when I went off of his script.
But that happens all the time. This is one of the things when I work with my clients. It's like, okay, so in your head, you have this playing out in this particular way. You forgot to share that with everybody else involved, and by the way, they have their own scripts about how this is all going to play out, and that's generally what happens. Is your script comes head to head with my script, and now we have to, and neither one of us gets it played out exactly the way we want. So what makes it different with a narcissist? Is it just that they give no quarter, that it's just they're just going to browbeat you into submission?
Well, by staying on their script, you're giving them what they need. So you're giving them their narcissistic supply, which is all of that adulation and admiration and recognition and envy. And, I can't tell you how many times my mother used to say to my father, "Oh, no one can do that like you. That organization would be lost without you." Well, no, they wouldn't. They'd be fine. And,
nobody's indispensable, unfortunately, but whatever,
So why? But that was her job. Her job was to provide that supply. And with narcissists, they lie all the time. They lie to make themselves sound better, to look better. They lie to pretend they're compassionate. They don't even realize they're lying. And they believe all their own lies.
Right.
Like it's all in their own false reality. So, and the other big thing is they don't communicate well or sometimes at all. So, here we're talking about them staying on a script, you staying on their script. They don't always tell you exactly what you should say or where you should be or what you should be doing. They expect you to know what they want, and then they get upset when you can't read their mind. Now, I believe that all of that goes to their low emotional intelligence.
Sure.
And that's one of the reasons, the inability to communicate, the lack of empathy, the lying, all of that is about a lack of emotional intelligence.
Wow. So this is Happily Ever After is just the beginning on webtalkradio.net. I'm Leslie Dories, and I'm talking narcissism and its impact on relationships with narcissistic abuse coach, speaker, and author Lynn Catalano. And whether you're in a relationship with a narcissist or just in a relationship that leaves you hurting and frustrated, the longer things go unresolved, the more damage is going to be done. And if you're looking to have a better relationship, I can help. So I'm inviting you to please just take a moment right now and send me an email or give me a call to schedule your free, no-obligation, 5-star relationship discovery call. You can reach me by phone at area code 919-924-0463. That's 919-924-0463. Or you can reach me by email at Leslie, Lesli, at foundationscoachingnc.com. That's FOUNDATIONS coaching, N as in Nancy, C as in Charlie.com. And I want to get back to this conversation